Hi everybody, and welcome to Storytime with the amazing picture board. I'd like to welcome you to our fifth story in this series that we're doing. And this week we're leading up to Easter, a very special time where Jesus will actually die on the cross. So let's build our picture, shall we? I want to tell you about some of the things Jesus said and did during the time leading up to Easter. So let's put Jesus over here. Now, we've got to know lots of his friends by now, haven't we? Let's put some of them up. Here's Peter and here's John. Jesus has got some very important things to say to them today. Let's put the rest of his friends here as well. And here's Andrew and here's James, John's brother. We put Judas on the end. Can I hear you give me a boo, boo? Now, of course, we want to put the ladies up too, don't we? So here we go. Here's Mary. Here's Mary. And over this side, here's Mary. Here's Joanna, another one of Jesus' team. And here's Susanna. We'll put that over here as well. So here's Jesus. And Jesus is talking to his friends, his class, his team. And he's got something really, really serious to say to them today. In fact, he says to them, we're going up to the city, up to Jerusalem. This is Jerusalem here. It's still a little way away, but they're on a journey and they're going to Jerusalem. And Jesus says to his friends, when we get there, I'm going to suffer a lot. In fact, I'm going to suffer at the hands of the leaders of the people, of the religious leaders, of the priests and of the lawyers. They're going to beat me, they're going to kill me, but I will rise again 3 days later. Well, Peter, here's Peter here, he heard Jesus say that, and he stepped forward and he said to him, he said, Rabbi, which means teacher. He said, Rabbi, I'm not going to let that happen to you. And Jesus was quite cross with Peter, and he said to him, Peter, you don't understand what must happen. God's ways are different from our ways. And he had to tell Peter off, and he told the disciples that one day they would understand these things, even though at the moment they couldn't understand what he was saying. Well, just at that time, the very people Jesus was talking about, and we'll put them over here, and we'll pretend that they're in Jerusalem, in the capital city. And these are some of the leaders who were in charge of the big church there in Jerusalem. And they were talking with each other. In fact, there were some soldiers there, not Roman soldiers, but soldiers at the big church that worked there and looked after it. And they were making plans to hurt Jesus. They were jealous of him. They didn't want him to be their leader. They rejected him. They pushed him away. And they wouldn't believe that he was God's son, even though in their Bible that they were reading, it said lots of things about Jesus when he would come. They did not want to know. And so they were making all these plans to hurt Jesus when he came to Jerusalem. And so we'll leave them over here, shall we? Well, I want to tell you about someone that Jesus met on the way to Jerusalem. So we'll move Jesus and we'll put him here. He had to go through a particular city on his way to Jerusalem, and that city was called Jericho. Can I hear you say Jericho? Good, Jericho. And there were lots of people with Jesus, and we'll put Jesus up here. There were lots of people. His friends were all there, of course, the Marys and his disciples, his team. Lots and lots of people were coming through the city of Jericho. It's a beautiful city, lots of palm trees. Look at that palm tree over there. Lots of palm trees in Jericho. Now, there was a man that lived in Jericho who wasn't liked by the people. And the Bible tells us that he was quite a small man. So let me introduce you to him. He lives in this big house over here in the corner. His name was Zacchaeus. Can you say Zacchaeus? Yes. Well, Zacchaeus was a tax collector, and nobody liked tax collectors. And some of the tax collectors were thieves, and cheats, and they would take too much money from the people and give it to the Romans. And Zacchaeus was like that. In fact, he was in charge of other tax collectors. And we put lots of his riches over here. He was a very wealthy man. But he got to hear about Jesus. In fact, everyone was talking about Jesus. And Zacchaeus wanted to find out and meet Jesus himself. But it tells us he was quite a small man. And the crowd was quite big. And Jesus was coming through his town. So you know what he did? It tells us that he ran on ahead without anyone seeing him. And he climbed a big tree along the route where Jesus was. And he sat up the tree as Jesus and the big crowd of people came past. And he looked down from that tree as Jesus was passing. Well, when Jesus got to the tree, he looked up. I want you all to look up. He looked up and he pointed and he said, Zacchaeus? That's interesting, isn't it? He called him by his name. He said, Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus might have fallen. He didn't. He didn't fall out of the tree. But he was so shocked. Jesus said, Zacchaeus, come out of that tree. Come down here because I'm coming to your house today. Go home and put a pizza in the oven. Well, it doesn't actually say that, but go home. I'm coming to your house. Zacchaeus came down from the tree. He was amazed that Jesus wanted to go to his house. In fact, all the people that were with Jesus knew that Zacchaeus was a bad person, and they were surprised that Jesus wanted to spend time with him. But you know, Jesus wants to spend time with everyone. In fact, Zacchaeus went home. He went back to his house. He went inside, and Jesus went inside with him. Well, when Jesus came out of the house and Zacchaeus came out with him, it was like Zacchaeus was a different person. All the people gathered round and Zacchaeus said to them, right, I've got some news for you. From now on, I'm going to sell all my goods. I'm going to give half of all my treasure, all the things that I have, to the poor people. And if I've cheated any of you, it's kind of like he said, put your hand up. If I've cheated you, I'm going to pay you back 4 times as much. I bet there was a big queue outside his house. The people were amazed at the change in Zacchaeus. His heart was changed. He'd met Jesus and he became like a different person. Well, he was as good as what he said. And Jesus said this. He said, you know what? I have come to search out and help and save all those people, everyone actually in the whole wide world who has lost their way, who have got things wrong in their life. I've come to help them. And Jesus was so happy about Zacchaeus. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's story. Jesus came through Jericho. He's now on his way to the big city of Jerusalem. The next time we do our story will be on Wednesday, and I'm going to be telling you about the night before Jesus died. See you then.